What it is like to be transgender is a piercing poem by the South African slam poet Lee Mukobe, in which the transgender poet is speaking about one's own gender identity. Slam poetry. What is that? Slam poetry is a form of performance poetry. You perform the poem. It combines elements of performance, writing, competition. You have slam competitions, and sometimes it involves audience participation as well. Mokobe performed this poem during a TED Talk event. Hope all of you have watched that performance. It's a wonderful poem. Do watch it if you haven't. The first time I uttered a prayer was in a glass-stained cathedral. I was kneeling long after the congregation was on its feet. Dip both hands into holy water, trace the Trinity across my chest, my tiny body drooping like a question mark all over the wooden pew. I asked Jesus to fix me. The speaker of the poem is a transgender. He remembers how he had prayed in a cathedral for fixing his or her gender identity. All the others who were in the church, in the cathedral, after praying, had got up. But the speaker knelt longer than others, praying desperately for Jesus to listen to his prayers. He completes the rituals of drawing the Trinity across the chest after dipping the hands in the holy water. The speaker is weak, tiny, and has a frail body. The speaker describes his body to be bent in the shape of a question mark while he sat on the wooden pew. See how the poet brings the body of the speaker into our minds. The body of the speaker is the central issue of the poem. The entire poem is about the body, the anatomy of the body of the speaker, which is a mystery. Literally, it is bent like a question mark. When we are weak and lack confidence, our shoulders droop and automatically our body bends. We will see why this line is significant later in the poem. Physically, the speaker's body is in the shape of a question mark, and figuratively, the body is a question. His body, or rather the anatomy of his body, is a question for people. Why is his body like this? Why is he like this? Does religion or Jesus give an answer to his question? What do you think is the question? At this stage, we can only guess what the questions could be. The question might be why he is born this way, or who is he, or is he a boy or a girl? What is his identity? Why isn't he like other normal individuals? Can Jesus fix him? And when he did not answer, I befriended silence in the hopes that my sin would burn and salve my mouth, would dissolve like sugar on tongue. But shame lingers as an aftertaste. So the transgender tried to overcome the crisis by talking to himself. He tried to isolate himself. He felt that he had sinned, and that is why he was given this identity, maybe as a punishment. He hoped that his silence would burn away all his sins. So he thought maybe he can keep silent, and then this identity will just vanish, and he'll be absolved of his sin. The sin is burned away. He's hoping for that, and maybe after the burning, this silence will actually give him comfort or soothe his mouth. The feeling of having an unfixed identity, unfixed gender identity, is thought of as a sin. It gradually disappeared, it seems, for the speaker. But a sense of shame, because you're always reminded of who you are by people's eyes, by the way people behave around you. So it always remains inside you. And that sense of guilt, that sense of shame that you're not like others, it remains as an unpleasant aftertaste. You have something that is offensive to your tongue, or something which you don't like, that lingers in your tongue, right? In that taste lingers in your mouth, that aftertaste. And it just does not go away. It remains with you for some time. But in this case, that sense of shame, it remains with this person. There is no way to get rid of that. Whatever he does, he is unable to get rid of that sense of shame or guilt. And in an attempt to reintroduce me to sanctity, my mother told me of the miracle I was, said I could grow up to be anything I want. I decided to be a boy. It was cute. I had snapback, toothless grin, used skinned knees as street cred, played hide and seek with what was left of my goal. I was it, the winner to a game the other kids couldn't play. I was a mystery of an anatomy, a question asked but not answered, tight roping between awkward boy and apologetic girl. Next, the speaker presents the mother. The mother of the speaker tries to comfort him. Mothers always find a way to make us feel good. The speaker's mother tries to give hope to her kid by saying he's a miracle and has been blessed, or his body is pure or holy. He has been blessed with the option to be a boy or a girl. He can choose. That's what the mother says. We usually tell kids, you can be anything you want. You can be a chef, film actress, or a gardener, or a businesswoman. In the speaker's case, the mother tells that he can be a boy or a girl. You have that option. Very few people get that kind of an option. So the mother tells this child of hers that he is blessed in the sense that he can choose what he wants to be. He has the choice. So he chooses to be a boy. That was his goal. He was a cute boy, having feminine characteristics, so he was cute. He wore a snapback, it's a kind of a cap. He had toothless grin. He wore skinned knees, which were in fashion back then. So this would give him credibility in the street. Often we find youngsters wearing dresses which adults might find odd. This would give them acceptance amongst their peers. He was playing the part of a boy, so he wore such kind of trousers or skinned knees so that people of the same age group would accept him. So he was doing everything possible to project that he was a boy and to get acceptance amongst him, amongst his friends, amongst the people of the same age group. See how wonderfully the poet uses a pun with hide and seek. Hide and seek is a game which children play with one another. This line does not suggest that he was playing hide and seek with others. The speaker was playing hide and seek with his own body. Whatever he did, whatever dress he puts on, there were elements of a girl which would be obvious to people. It might be the way he spoke or the way he acted, So he has to hide it and seek out elements which would project him as a boy. After all, that was his goal, to establish an identity. He wanted to be seen as a boy. He was the winner, the only winner of this game of hide and seek. No other children could play this game with him because he was playing hide and seek with his own body. His body, or the anatomy of his body, was a mystery. Nobody could answer or find the answer for why he was like this. The speaker compares his existence to what a tightrope walker does. His life was like walking along a tight rope. He was neither a boy nor a girl. He was an awkward boy, exhibiting feminine characteristics. But then he was not a girl. So he had to live an apologetic existence. Apologize means you feel sorry. You feel sorry for who you are. Imagine feeling sorry for who you are. You cannot do anything about it. But then I'm kind of a boy, not a girl. So that's the existence that you're living. Next lines. And when I turned 12, the boy face wasn't deemed cute anymore. It was met with nostalgic aunts who missed seeing my knees in the shadow of skirts, who reminded me that my kind of attitude would never bring a husband home, that I exist for heterosexual marriage and childbearing, and I swallowed their insults along with their slurs. So when he became a teenager, he could no longer hide his feminine characteristics, feminine features. Until then, he could pass off as a cute boy. But now he looked like a woman, and the relatives began to label him as a girl or as a woman and expected him to dress like a woman. Society began to push him or manipulate him to behave in a particular way, their way, threatening him by saying nobody will marry him. They began to chain him, restrict him verbally with the roles expected of a woman. And when he did not obey, he was insulted. Slurs were used. Naturally, I did not come out of the closet. The kids at my school opened it without my permission. Called me by a name I did not recognize. Said lesbian. But I was more boy than girl. More Ken than Barbie. It had nothing to do with hating my body. I just love it enough to let it go. I treat it like a house. And when your house is falling apart, you do not evacuate. You make it comfortable enough to house all your insides. You make it pretty enough to invite guests over. You make the floorboard strong enough to stand on. Coming out of the closet means to declare one's identity, specifically one's sexual identity. Closet is an enclosed space with a door used for storing things like clothes or other household objects, usually clothes. Transgenders, homosexuals, and other queer groups had to hide their identities, fearing society's wrath. They had to figuratively hide in the closet. Some of them literally did as well. Because of the fear of the society, people around them looked at them with fear in their eyes or tried to ostracize them. So many of them hid inside closets just to get away from all this pain. So when you come out of the closet means you are declaring your identity. Yes, I am a transgender and I'm going to own it. I'm declaring it in the open, publicly. So that is something which you do on your own. But in this case, in the case of this transgender, he don't get that opportunity. It is extremely challenging for people to admit who they are, to own up their identity. In the speaker's case, he did not come out of the closet on his own, but was dragged out by his schoolmates. They called him names like lesbian, and the poor kid, when he was young, during the school days, did not understand why they were calling him a lesbian. Kids get bullied at school, and name calling is one such dangerous pastime for most bullies. The speaker says he was not a lesbian, as he felt he was more of a boy. He makes a comparison between Ken and Barbie dolls. Barbie's boyfriend's name is Ken. The speaker says he was more of Ken than Barbie. So he identifies with the boy or the male gender. Despite the insults, he did not hate his body. He loves his body and tries to ignore all these insults. The speaker compares his body to a home. Just like we decorate our house and maintain it, he maintains his body. How do you strengthen your house? By building a strong foundation. He does this with his body. He is mentally tough to face this world.